I did not see this coming. A few days ago at Gamescom, Focus Entertainment announced a brand new game in the Mudrunner franchise called Expeditions. And they also dropped a trailer at the same time. So I'm going to go through that trailer in just a moment. And we're going to break down everything that we see in this trailer so we can get an idea of what this new game is going to be about. Over on the site for the new game, which has a release date of 2024, the blurb says that you will embark on ever-rewarding scientific expeditions as you adapt to nature's challenges and unravel the mysteries of uncharted lands. Venture into the vast wilderness of arid deserts and rugged forests to the steepest mountains, brimming with hidden treasures and forgotten ruins. Lead research missions as you drive a variety of all-terrain vehicles through treacherous paths using advanced technologies and high-tech tools to overcome obstacles. Build and maintain your base and equip your vehicles with essential gadgets like drones or scanners to ensure your success in the wild. Hire a team of top-notch experts to improve your skills in the field, unlocking new possibilities for exploration. Okay, wow, so there's so much to unpack in this trailer. Clearly this is early in development, or at least it's not a finished game at this point. They've obviously got a lot more to do, but we can tell a few things from this trailer already, and so I'm going to break down a few of those now. So from this very, very first scene, and looks very, very similar, in fact, to a lot of regions that are already in SnowRunner. So we could be seeing a lot of regions like that in the new game. This could be North America, Canada. It could be a Russian region again. And then this next scene. This is blowing my mind, to be quite honest, because this is what I've wanted from SnowRunner for quite a while. We actually have some kind of scouting drone here. And we've also got a little compass thing at the top, which is also pretty fantastic. So hopefully what this means is we'll be able to scout out areas ahead so that we don't have to just drive down some sketchy looking path with our truck without at least, taking a look to see if it's even possible to do. I know that in SnowRunner, you would generally scout out the map in a scout vehicle ahead of time, but you can't possibly scout out an entire map. So being able to just sort of get out of the truck and take a look around before you make the leap would be amazing. And ever since I played Forza Horizon with the drone that they have in that, I thought that would be a really amazing addition to SnowRunner. Also, it looks like we can see the distance where you are, how high the drone is, presumably relative to where you are. And you've also got a little signal indicator at the bottom. So presumably you only have a limited range. Beyond that, the drone would cut out. Okay, so this next scene, we have the Don 71, which is also a vehicle in SnowRunner. And it looks like there's a good few changes to this vehicle in this new game. So it looks like we've got a bunch of new attachments, the bumper bars at the front and the spare wheels on the front. We've also got some other kind of supplies or something at the front and in the back. The tires, they look different as well. They look a bit like the truck tires, the OHS 2s in SnowRunner. Those tires are not available on the Don 71 in SnowRunner. And also we have this new roof equipment. It's not entirely clear just yet what this is, but I assume it's some kind of scanning equipment. We have the KRS 58 Bandit, which actually has a flatbed, which you don't get in SnowRunner. You don't see the crane on this, but you do have roof-mounted supplies. It looks like the same region. So there are big trucks in this game. So whether or not we will be delivering large loads of cargo in this game in the same way as in SnowRunner and Mudrunner, that remains to be seen just yet. But there are full-size off-road trucks in the game, not just scouts. Okay, I'll just go back there. Okay, so now we have the Yar 87. This is a bit different to in SnowRunner. We've got a few attachments on the side of the truck and at the front. Those bumper bars on the front are not in SnowRunner, so this is a new set of attachments there. Looks like the same tires as before, but it looks like we have some kind of containers strapped to the side as well as something on the front. And if you look closely at this red container on the front, it has a flammable symbol, so I'm going to assume that this is a fuel tank. That might mean that the grey container on the side is repair parts. We've also got what looks like new paint jobs, which is fantastic. The number plate on the front, it says 4LLTR4CK or all track. Perhaps we're able to change what it says on the number plates, or maybe each truck has an individual number plate that's different. This next scene, we have a large canyon sort of area, a rocky environment. This looks like a completely new map to the previous regions that the trailer has showed so far. The vehicle in front is the International Scout 800, which is also in SnowRunner. It looks pretty stock, although it does seem to have some kind of equipment on the roof. I'm guessing that this is some kind of scanner, but I'm not sure what region this is, but certainly we haven't seen any kind of deserty type regions in SnowRunner as of yet. I would say that this is probably somewhere in America. Perhaps we're looking at Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, something like that. Could also be somewhere in South America. It may even be in Africa or Australia. It'd be interesting to see if there are other regions outside of North America and Eurasia in this game, whereas in SnowRunner and in Mudrunner before, you really only had America and Russian regions. So it would be good to see a few more locations throughout the globe. So put your guesses down in the comments what region you think this would be. That's more footage of the camera drone there. 180 meters distance and 50 meters height. We can assume that the drone is able to fly 180 meters away from you and up to 50 meters of vertical elevation difference from your current position, presumably. I would assume that means up or down. If you're stood up on top of a cliff, you could probably go 50 meters down. Okay, and in this scene, you can see that we've used the scout drone here, the camera drone, to scout out the next objective. You can also see the signal indicator there is going down the further away the drone is from the player. Okay, let's just go back there. The YAR-87, that gave us a good little view of the supplies on this truck. On the back, we have a couple of grey cases, and actually you can see a little spanner symbol on the side. So it does look like those are supplies, vehicle spare parts or something like that. And then the red containers, which we saw had a flammable symbol on, we also see a little cap on the top, which does look like some kind of fuel container. So it looks like you'll be able to strap supplies and fuel all over your truck. So that's very interesting because you had limited options for that in SnowRunner. So in this, maybe there's a lot more modularity. Okay, and this next scene, if you blink, you miss this on a quick playthrough. But what's happening here, the drone is scanning what looks to be some kind of creature footprints. It would seem that you need to use the drone to complete objectives. It's not just to scout an area before you take the plunge in your truck, but actually to complete objectives as well by actually scanning things that are in the area. And we've also got binoculars from the looks of this. So again, it looks like we'll be able to do the same thing. Scan an area with a pair of binoculars, so you can zoom in and out with the trigger buttons, as you see on the left. Okay, so in this next scene, we have a bunch of pictures. And anyone that's seen Breaking Bad will immediately recognize the one in the top left. This is the meth lab from Breaking Bad. This is the RV. So that's a nice little reference. And I think based on that one picture alone, we can assume that this rocky, deserty region that I mentioned earlier is New Mexico. I think this basically confirms that the region, this one particular region, is New Mexico. In the bottom left, we have some kind of ruined tower. Over on the right, we have some tree stumps that have been turned into some kind of sculpture. Each one of these tree stumps has some kind of white masked face painted on the front, like some sort of like ghost face. They look a bit like kabuki masks or something like that. They're giving me kind of Spirited Away vibes. Could be that this is a reference to South American or Latin masks and things like that. If anybody else has any kind of input on what this type of mask is and what this might be a reference to, then leave that down in the comments. And in this slide, we've got some more sort of glimpses to the kind of terrain that we might have to navigate. And it does look like it's a rather tough and hostile terrain. In the next scene, we have a look at the Scout 800, the International Scout 800. Again, we get a closer look at the front of the Scout 800. And this is a much more modern style of attachment of bull bars on the front of this. But this time, this truck is loaded up full of supplies, on the roof, on the back, on the front. And here we're driving into an old American West town. This is another shot here, which I think looks to have gone back to a European map. I think that this one is actually more of a Russian map. Every time we've seen this particular map in the trailer, it seems to have the Russian style trucks on it. And on the desert looking one, it seems to have more American trucks. I think that they're trying to indicate that this one is a Eurasian region. And we've got the Don 71 Scout here again with a different loadout, a different configuration than before. You've got wide wheel arches and wide tires on it this time, as well as a whole bunch of supplies on the back and on the roof. So hopefully this means that we're getting a lot more flexibility on how we can configure our vehicles this time around. There's just so much to unpack here. Let's just, I need to rewind back there. This one is the TUZ 16 Actaeon, if I'm saying that right, which is a small little off-road truck with only like a one-slot cargo bed on the back. That is a Russian-style truck, and this was back on the New Mexico, I'm assuming, map. But this is a very, very different truck to the one that's in SnowRunner. You can see that the sideboard bed that's on the back and the attachments that are on the roof, they look much more modern. And the real key thing that we need to point out on this particular scene is this anchor. It looks like we're going to have a completely new winch option where you won't need to rely on having a tree or something like that you can winch from. You'll be able to deploy an anchor that you can then winch from and pull yourself up rocky terrain that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to navigate. So here we go, we've got a little bit of information on that anchor. It says it supports up to 30,000 pounds of weight, quick install, lightweight, convenient storage. Now, I'm going to assume that this is going to be an optional add-on for your truck, and it may replace the traditional winch. It may be that it replaces something else, or it may be something that you can equip all the time. It's not clear just yet. But in the same way that in SnowRunner, you have the option to have lots of different types of winch. You have a heavy one, you have an automated one, an autonomous one, you have a long reach, and one that kind of combines the lot into one. It could be that this anchor is one option that you will have, but not the default option. But it'd be interesting to see how this works in the game. It looks like it's going to be a really powerful tool. I wish that something like this was in SnowRunner already. So something else from this little clip that I almost missed, this TUZ 16, the number plate says Shishiga, which according to Wikipedia is a creature similar to the wood goblin in Russian folklore and mythology. Everybody who sees her will soon drown or die by another cause. Well, that's pretty stark. So I wonder, as I said earlier about the R87, which had the number plate that said all track, whether we will be able to customize the number plates on our trucks this time around. I mean, it's not going to be a huge game-changing thing, but it's a nice little cosmetic feature that's just, adds a little bit of personality to your trucks in the game. Okay, and in this scene, you can see we're driving in the cockpit here of the Ankh 38 Civilian, but it seems to have some kind of external roll cage that I don't think is in the SnowRunner game. And up ahead, you can see that we have the Bandit again. This time it has the seismic module on the back. This is the same seismic module that is in the SnowRunner game. And we've also got the R87 with some other kind of scanning equipment on the top. Now we've got the R87 towing that Bandit out of this water, and it says the winch has a 20-meter length and 15,000 pounds load capacity with a waterproof synthetic rope. Now, it's not clear at this point whether there's going to be lots of different winches. Like I said earlier, in the SnowRunner game, you had a few different winches, different lengths and different weight carrying capacity, or whether there's only one winch. Maybe you have to choose between the anchor and the winch, and there's not lots of different versions of the winches. That's interesting that they've specified what the winch is capable of. Okay, so now we can see the deployment of what this gadget that we've been seeing in the trailer up till now is. And this gadget is a metal detector with 360-degree detection. It has item detection by color system and the augmented reality display. It's not entirely clear what that means in this particular scene. Hopefully they'll show us something about what that means. But I assume that means that it's going to show things overlaid over the world that the metal detector is scanning. And here we go. This is what I'm talking about, that we have an overlay over the world showing what the scanner is detecting, although in this case this is showing the depth of the water. So it looks like you're going to be able to scout out water depth before you go plunging in. So it looks like you've got a scale here of green to red of shallow to deep water. Presumably red is water that's too deep for the truck that you're in. Okay, so it says Echo Sounder, 15 meters of range with real-time AR mapping and a multi-stage warning system. The green to red range will be your multi-stage warning system, and the real-time AR mapping, this is the overlay that you can see on the world around you. It has a 15-meter range around your vehicle where it can show you the depth of the water. And I assume that the metal detector works in the exact same way. They haven't shown that, but we can assume based on how the echo sounder or the sonar system works that the metal detector would work in the same way as this. Adapt. Okay, right. So this little scene is incredible. incredibly interesting. It looks like we've got a new interface, or it looks very similar to the existing interface, except with a new flat UI. They've made it look a little bit more modern, a little bit cleaner, perhaps, depending on your taste. It looks like what we have here is a modular system for your upgrades. So this roof rack has 6 slots in it, maybe 7 slots available that you can fill with either fuel or repair parts. And so you can pay for individual parts. So if you wanted to take all repair parts or all fuel or a mixture of both, that you could do that. This is incredibly cool. And this is going to be a really powerful feature. Sometimes if you're going to scout a long way off and you've got a truck that's pretty durable, you don't really care about having lots of supplies. You'd rather have more fuel. And sometimes if you're going for a short scout, but you're worried that you're going to get quite severely damaged, you'd rather take the supply parts. And there's a little look at the back where you can swap out the different parts on the back. So it looks like on this truck, you've got 3 different slots. So this is the Don 71. You've got 3 different slots, one on the front, one on the back, and one on the roof. And you can configure each individual slot with different parts. And you can see actually one of the slots on the rack on the back and the front allows you to fit a tire as well. So it would look like you have slots for tires, slots for spare parts, and slots for fuel. Apart from the drone, this is actually probably one of the most exciting things that I've seen so far in this trailer. This is really, really good stuff. Actually, I wish this sort of stuff was in SnowRunner, but it's really great to see these things for the new game. It's unclear how much this is going to change before it launches. And it's also unclear whether they're going to put some of this stuff into SnowRunner. I very much doubt it. It would be nice if they could, but I very much doubt that they will do that. Okay, and now we've got to look at the map and the contract screen. The map just basically looks the same as it is in SnowRunner. You've got a route planner that looks exactly the same as it is in SnowRunner. Even the menu system at the bottom looks the same as it does in SnowRunner. The contracts panel, everything kind of looks the same, apart from the new flat design style. No real change here, which is good. I can't think of any reason to change this. Let me know if you think that this needed to be changed in any way. Didn't notice this until I started editing, but Arizona, Grand Canyon, so perhaps this map is not New Mexico after all. Or maybe there's both Arizona and New Mexico? Who knows? This scene gives us perhaps the most information on the actual driving of the trucks in Expeditions with this new HUD. On the left, the HUD has been cleaned up in a new circular design. We have the same damage indicators as well as the new fuel gauge, but most interestingly, this tells us that the fuel is going to be measured in the same way as it is in SnowRunner, with the HUD showing 5.1 litres per minute. So this is being measured per minute as it is in SnowRunner rather than per kilometre or per mile or whatever. There is a new gauge above this, and I don't know what this is meant to represent. It doesn't move at all in this video, but there does seem to be some kind of gauge here with 3 positions. If you've any idea what this might be, leave that down in the comments. On the right-hand side, we have the same indicators for things like drive and diff lock, and we can also see that the gearbox is exactly the same as in SnowRunner. Also interesting to note is the dedicated buttons for devices and inventory, perhaps giving you quick access to menu items rather than you needing to scroll through a long vehicle menu like you do in SnowRunner. It'd be interesting to see how that works in the full game. So this is a pretty good look at the new HUD, and of course things are subject to change in the full game, but speaking of the gearbox, I think this is kind of disappointing in some ways. I think a lot of people would be happy if there was an option for more advanced gearboxes with manual gear selection or something like that, but who knows, maybe there is going to be something like this in the full game. And this, what is this? This is some kind of new vehicle. This is not in SnowRunner. Don't think it was in Mudrunner. This looks like some kind of LAPV. What is this, a light armored patrol vehicle or MRAP, something like that. So it's sort of similar to the Heavy Insurgent from GTA 5. I think the real world trucks like that are like the Teradyne Gurkha or the Cougar MRAP, something like that. I did have a look around to see if I could find something similar to this. I'm not sure if this is specifically based on a real world vehicle, if it's like some kind of amalgamation of LAPV style vehicles in general. And I'm not sure why this is running snow tires in the mud like this. I think this is the first and maybe the only new truck for the game that has been shown in this trailer. So this is a nice little teaser. This is a new truck. I doubt that this will be the only new truck in the game, but it is good to see that they are going to be including some new trucks at least. And there we go. That's the whole trailer. And there's so much there to unpack. And I think I probably missed some stuff as well. I'll break down this image that's in the background, but there's so much text all over it. But this is a banner image on the Focus Entertainment website. So I took a look at that. It looks like this is a mashup of a few different regions and ideas for the sort of thing that we'll get to explore within the game. So down the bottom left, we've got some kind of downed helicopter in the middle of the water. Also got a large aeroplane or something above that, a large crashed aeroplane. Further over to the very back on the left, we have what looks like a castle tower or something like that, a keep. Over in the middle, there looks to be some kind of stone circle type thing, some kind of prehistoric stone monument. Over on the right-hand side at the very back, there's a bunch of pillars, some kind of old Roman architecture. You can see what looks like a dinosaur skeleton on the side of the rocks, as well as some kind of cave entrance just underneath that. You can see we have our scout drone there as well in the middle, and we have on the right our Don 71, which has even more different attachments to it. It has a whole roll cage around it, this modern looking roll cage, which is certainly not anything that you can see in SnowRunner. There's a few other images available on the site as well. So we've got this one here, which is a Don 71 again, but this time without the cage, another completely different configuration, which is interesting. The amount of configuration we've seen for this, even just this one specific vehicle, looks like there's going to be a lot of scope for customizing your vehicles to the specific scenario. And hopefully they're a lot more useful than in SnowRunner. In a lot of times in SnowRunner, you fit the best parts that are available, and then that's about it. Some of it is cosmetic. It's not that particularly useful. You would pick the best engine, the best gearbox, and there wouldn't generally be too much reason to fit anything other than that. Some people might prefer one gearbox over another, but generally you would pick the best part for each one, and then that's it. Apart from the attachments on the back, such as cranes and flatbeds and things like that, that you would use for the specific contract, but the actual other parts for the truck wasn't really much reason to customize them. And I'm hoping that in this game, there'll actually be a lot more tangible, actual reasons to change some of this stuff on the vehicles. Okay, the next image that's available, this looks like the inside of the Can 39 Marshall, just driving up through a rocky river. Not much else to see on this particular image. This is the TUZ 108 Warthog with the AMHS tires. So we're seeing that this truck has come back in the new game, but you can see this one fitted up with a much more modern looking roof rack than in SnowRunner. And finally, the last image available is an image of the camp itself, or the exploration camp. And there's a lot here in this very one image. You can see that we had our camera drone in the middle with its little helicopter pad that it can land on. It's still unclear on how this is deployed, whether this is something that you'll be able to take with you on all trucks, or whether it is something that has to be specifically equipped in lieu of some other item, or whether it's something you can always have with you and deploy at any point. In the background behind the drone there, you can see a big fuel container. Behind that, we've got what looks like the garage. It's not clear how much of this will be here from the start. I have a feeling that how the game will be set out is that you will perform tasks and contracts and things like that in order to get this camp built up. And then over time, as you unlock the different features through doing tasks, you will then have more things available to you in the camp. Vehicle-wise, so we've already seen that the Bandit is available in the game. You can see that there in the background, but also the Can Loaf is just there to the side of the Bandit. It looks like a very different iteration of the Can Loaf than is in SnowRunner as well. Looks like it has much bigger tires, much more off-road capable, presumably. Is difficult to tell from this one picture, but it does look to be that way. And then over on the left, you have the Step 3364 Crocodile, which is a pretty good truck in SnowRunner. So that one is also making a comeback. So I think we can probably assume that a lot of the trucks from SnowRunner are going to make a comeback for Expeditions. So this has been a really, really interesting look at the new game. And at this point, I think it's unclear whether or not the main mechanic from the previous two games, which is just delivering cargo, is actually going to feature all that much in Expeditions, or whether it's going to be entirely focused on just scouting, whether there's going to be a bit of a mix. We have to remember that the previous game was called SnowRunner, and most of the maps are not snowy maps. There are a good fair few snow region maps. We've got Alaska, we've got a few places in Russia. You cannot forget the Amur region, which was insanely difficult. But generally, SnowRunner was just more Mudrunner. It wasn't specifically tied to driving in the snow. It was not an ice road trucker game. It could be that what the devs are doing here is showing off the new features and not bothering to show us any of the things that we're already used to because we're already used to it. Or it could be that they really are minimizing the amount of actual cargo delivery type of things that will be done in this game, and it will be almost entirely focused on scouting. It is really, really hard to tell at this point, but it does seem that there's going to be a significant emphasis on scouting and exploration, which I know is for some people one of the best things about SnowRunner anyway. It's like one of the most exciting things. You get to the new map, you get in a scout vehicle and you just drive around and you find things. And it is that first exploration of any new map that is the most exciting part. Once you get down to the planning the routes for all the different cargo delivery things, some of them being incredibly long-winded, like a lot of the logging missions from SnowRunner and those potato missions from the Glades region, which, I just get pain in my head just thinking about those potato missions. But just driving around in completely unexplored territory, finding all the secrets and uncovering all of the little things in the map. Your objectives are to actually find those things. And that is the main thing in the game, is to explore and to uncover. I think that's a really, really exciting thing for a lot of people. I think that's going to get a lot of people really hyped up. The question though is this meant to be like a Mudrunner 3 or like a SnowRunner 2 or something like that? Is this meant to be like a full sequel, or is this meant to be a side game that focuses more on exploration? And that I'm not really sure about just now. I think if this is going to be the sequel game to SnowRunner, that if they drop all of the cargo delivery type of contracts, that might not necessarily sit well with Mudrunner and SnowRunner fans so much as if they include that as well as all the exploration stuff. Sure, cargo delivery has a very limited sort of appeal in some ways, and actually the challenge of exploring the terrain and getting through the terrain and unlocking its secrets, it could well be considered to be the primary excitement of the game. And once you get into the weeds of just delivering cargo over and over, that it starts to become a slog. But that has been the main focus of the previous two games. So if they completely minimize that cargo delivery aspect, it might alienate some of the player base. And I'm not sure exactly how long they intend to keep SnowRunner running, as it were. We're in year 3 now. Probably, we halfway through year 3 now? I'm not sure. Sooner or later, they're going to wrap SnowRunner up and release a new game. But looking down through the comments on this video, it does look like people are pretty excited and hyped for this new game. But I think, with SnowRunner being out for as long as it has, and there being, 1,000 hours worth of content in the game, probably somewhere around that region, 1,000 hours of content in the game when you include all the seasonal content, and with no real new features being added to SnowRunner beyond a few new maps and contracts and tasks and things like that in each season, I think people are chomping at the bit to have some improved physics, some bug fixes, some improved quality of life in the way that the attachments work and the way that exploration works, the way that all the systems that make the game are, to be honest, starting to look a little bit like they need a bit of work. They're looking a bit dated, especially as some of those systems already worked a bit better in the previous games like Mudrunner and like Spin Tires. So people have been complaining about this for a while, and it looks like they're making a correction for that with Expeditions. Some would say that perhaps that correction should have been made with updates to SnowRunner, but this is where we are. Many of us have put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into SnowRunner. I think we've more than got our money's worth out of it, and clearly we still enjoy playing the game despite all of its flaws. Based on the fact that it's probably one of my all-time favorite games, I'm actually really, really excited for Expeditions and all the changes that it's going to bring. I kind of don't care that some of these things are not in SnowRunner at this point, because being about 1,000 hours into SnowRunner, I don't mind moving on to something new. I don't mind moving on to the new game. Right, so that's it. That's been a look at the new Mudrunner Expeditions trailer. Actually, I think they should call it Mudrunner Expeditions rather than Expeditions, a Mudrunner game. I think it just sounds better. Mudrunner Expedition. I don't know. What do you think? Leave that down in the comments. Anyway, I'm just waffling at this point. So thank you for watching if you watched and made it all the way to the end. This has been a breakdown of the trailer for Mudrunner Expeditions, or Expeditions, a Mudrunner game. That's it from me for this video. I'll be making a lot more content with relation to SnowRunner, and when Expeditions finally comes out in 2024, you can bet that I'm going to be playing that, and I'll be making some content about that as well. So thank you so much for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.